This Fed Gov Today program is sponsored by Broadcom Enterprise Security Group and Carasoft. On this edition of Fed Gov Today with Francis Rose, the Pentagon walks before it runs to a clean financial audit, a new data governance model for AI excellence, and the next generation of AI at the Pentagon. The Chief Digital and Artificial Intelligence Officer's here. Welcome to Fed Gov Today in Washington, D.C., on YouTube and around the world on the American Forces Network. I'm Francis Rose. The Marine Corps is on a 3-year winning streak of clean financial audits. The other services and Fourth Estate organizations say they're making progress toward hitting the deadline for a clean audit across the department in 2028. Jay Hurst is performing the duties of Undersecretary of Defense Comptroller at the Pentagon. Jay, welcome. It's good to have you here. Where does the rest of the department stand on the audit as you move into the back half of fiscal 26?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Obviously, we're all inspired by the Marine Corps, and we want to duplicate their success. But we have a long way to go. The Marine Corps has about $60 billion in assets, and the department has about $4.6 trillion. But the good news is we have clean opinions on half of those assets, and we have a plan to get to the rest. So what we're going to be doing for the next 2 years is a mad dash to duplicate the success of the Marine Corps and get us an opinion by 2028.
Are there elements of what the Marine Corps did, understanding the size differential, that can apply to the other services and apply potentially to some of the Fourth Estate organizations?
Yeah, there certainly are. The Marine Corps did their audit and continues their audit in a Marine Corps fashion, which in many ways is brute force, right? They're applying a lot of manpower to the problem. They're doing a lot of testing. We're going to do that too in the Department of War. But what's different now is we have technology we can apply. We have AI and other tools that we can probably magnify the personnel that are working on this problem set and do a lot of substantive testing in a way we couldn't do 4 or 5 years ago. And that's going to give us a real shot.
What are the areas where you expect to apply tools like AI the most to get the most gain?
Yeah, great question. We're in a tough spot. I would say we're almost like a student who's waited too long to cram for a test. And we have a few things that we have to really focus on if we're going to get a passing grade. We're still going to have a lot to remediate. But I think if we focus on a few key line items in our financial statement and we apply our resources there in a centralized fashion, getting the services on board too, which they are, we have a real shot at getting an initial opinion in 2028. It won't be the end of our auditing, it won't be the end of remediation, but we can get there.
You kind of anticipated where I wanted to go next, which is there a potential breakthrough between now and 28, or breakthroughs that if we get past these things, then the rest of it might not be quite as difficult?
Well, we're going to take a real shot at working capital first across the department. We're trying for a consolidated working capital opinion at DOW. And if you see us get that, you should feel pretty good about us getting the rest of it in the general fund for 2028. If we don't, we'll lick our wounds, reassess, and get back at it.
From a technology perspective, you said there are technology opportunities. The Navy, as we talked about a little bit before we went on the air, has just rolled out a new ERP, a big transformation for them. Are those the kinds of things that you expect to see across the department that will help you maybe make big gains in short periods of time?
I wish we could do an ERP for the entire department in the next 2 years. I don't think it's possible. We have about 1,400 business systems inside in DOW, and we're trying to consolidate a lot of them and modernize them, but there's only so much we can do. So we're probably going to have to live with most of the systems we have. We'll have to probably try to consolidate some of the worst problem areas we have and get new systems there, but for the most part, we're stuck with the technology we have, and we're going to be bringing in new tools, like I said, AI to help us reconcile data and do more substantive testing to give us a real shot at this.
As you have had a chance to really dig your teeth into what the challenge is that's here, what have you seen that's worked over time that is going to help you from a strategic perspective get to where you want to be? And what are some areas where you really think you need to really tweak things considerably to be able to hit your goals?
I would say our biggest challenge for the department is we didn't take the audit seriously in 1990 with the CFO Act. Dave Norquist in 2017 is the first CFO to really push us towards auditing. And we made a lot of progress in that time, but what we did was we're auditing about 26 funds individually, and they all have their own strategies. So the big shift for us is to make everyone work together on doing what's really important for DOW, not individual services or agencies. So that's a big part of it. But also we can't fix everything right now. We have to fix the most important things.
The concept of getting everybody kind of moving in the same direction strategically, what do you think in the future you have to do to move those folks to do things the way the department does it instead of the way their organization has done it in the past?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of messaging, right? We've had a lot of meetings with the services in Fourth Estate to make it clear that, you know, we have a time problem here, and the way we've been doing business won't get us across the line. And they're receptive to that, right? If we had 5 years to do an audit, I think I'd have less cooperation, but because we have 2 years and it's coming fast, they're more on board. So I think a lot of it's outreach and messaging and making sure everybody feels like they're a member of the same effort and team.
And receptive is where another thing I wanted to ask you about is, what's the sense of buy-in? Is there a department-wide sense that you've seen since you've been in the building that this is important and we're not just going through a rote exercise, that this is really important to the way that we position ourselves to the taxpayer?
Well, the Secretary put out a great memorandum in June saying this is a priority. Which signals to everybody in the department we have to get after this. And the Deputy, Steve Feinberg, has been equally supportive. Yeah, I think they're very receptive, right? We have a great team of service comptrollers. They all want to be on the team that gets the first financial audit of DoD done. And we're playing to win. The
work that you're doing with the service level organizations and the Fourth Estate, as I've mentioned a couple of times, what's your role with these organizations that are trying to get, like the Navy, Marine Corps, Air Force, and so on? What's your role as far as the granular details of their audit versus providing strategic guidance and providing resources and cover for them to do what they need to do?
Sure, we need to do both. They're both important. For us, I would say we're looking at the things in the service audits that are really going to, kill us, so to speak, for the DOW overall audit. And we're going to help them by applying resources, making sure they're aware of what needs to be remediated. But we've got a great investment from the One Big Beautiful Bill Act by President Trump and the Congress in our audit remediation. We're going to budget more in 27 for these tools and the personnel we need. And so I see it as kind of as we're overall battle manager here, and we're applying resources to the front where they're most needed. And the services are helping us figure out where those problems are.
Do you have specific incremental goals for the rest of this fiscal year, for fiscal 27, to then get to 28, or are you just kind of making a full court press to try to get to the opinion by 28?
It's a little of both. I expect we're going to learn a lot as we kind of surge towards this effort. Our initial thing we're doing is just trying to get the right personnel in the room. We've got a great Deputy Undersecretary, Mike Powers, who's been a career auditor and financial manager. We've got Tom Harker, who used to be the Comptroller of the Navy, and Sean Lennon, who used to be the CFO of DLA. And we're bringing them on board, and we're using all their networks to bring in all the talent we need at DCFO and Comptroller to be able to surge here. So first step is to build the team. We've already socialized the plan with the services, and now I think we're really starting to accelerate.
We have about a minute left. What's the talent that you need most right now to hit the marks that you talked about?
Thanks for asking. We need data analysts, we need financial managers, we need people with industry experience who are willing to come to the department even for a short time to help us get across the goal. We need people with audit experience, and these are the kind of skill sets that we're bringing into the department right now, and we're doing a lot of hiring.
And they're not just at your level, but they're also at the service levels, I imagine. Is that fair?
That's right. We need talent at the services and at the department level.
Jay, it's great to have you here. Thanks very much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
You can read more about the audit and the other topics Jay and I covered on today's show page at fedgovtoday.com. Up next, a new data governance model for AI excellence. Fed Gov Today with Francis Rose. We'll be right back.
Innovation doesn't wait, and neither do we. At Maximus, we solve problems, streamlining operations, delivering solutions at speed and scale that drive measurable results. From strategy to execution, we simplify complexity, building trust through expertise and innovative technology. Every service, every time. Efficient government delivered. We don't follow innovation, we drive it. Maximus.
I really do feel like as a CIO, you need to not only understand the agency or the organization that you work with, but build the relationships with the people that you really serve. Not only the public, but also our internal customers, right? Really seek to understand what do they need from IT.
Have intake requests here within the IT organization for the state of Oklahoma. The processes that were out there were elongated. we sat down and we factored in what do we really have. And so in order to get let's say a help desk ticket into the system and routed to the right individual, there were too many steps.
So bringing a consumer lens in that starts to look at what are the expectations of the residents within Tennessee. The expectations are not likely different than what they encounter in their private life when they encounter government.
Welcome back. The Pentagon says artificial intelligence will be a force multiplier for the department. Some outside experts believe, though, that AI can present another type of multiplier. Garrett Lee is Regional Vice President for Public Sector Sales at Broadcom Enterprise Security Group. Garrett, welcome. Thanks for joining me. You wrote recently about the risk multiplier effect of AI. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly AI is now becoming part of infrastructure. It is inevitable that our U.S. government puts it to good use as a force multiplier. But the cautionary moment for us all is how those models interact with data. And AI doesn't necessarily introduce new vectors of threat, it amplifies existing vectors. So how that data, it's fed into models, how it comes back, how it's fed into models as prompts, how it comes back as results, what is allowed to be used, which models are acceptable for use, and how do you build the guardrails and governance to support responsible AI adoption.
You said something there that I think is really important, because for a long time I've asked questions about AI regarding the infrastructure for it. Mm-hmm. You're now proposing that it's part of the infrastructure now. What's the implication of that for the way that you then look at risk governance for this new infrastructure that now includes AI?
Yeah, it's an expansion of an attack surface, effectively. It means the way that data interacts with these models needs to be, you need visibility to it, you need to be able to govern that, you need to be to make sure that at any moment you have an audit trail to understand and tune how AI interacts with the data in the environment. The federal government operates a lot of sensitive information, whether it's classified, whether it's CUI, controlled unclassified information, PII, PHI, law enforcement data, export control data. There's a tremendous volume of sensitive data flowing through our federal government at any given moment. How the AI tools interact with that data is a decision that needs to be made very, very carefully and then governed through the use of tools like a data loss prevention capability.
Who are the most important people to be at the table for those discussions in your view?
Yeah, I think it's, well, we've got chief data officers now. You'll be speaking with shortly. These folks need to be reminding all levels of government how to operate with the data and make decisions about how to safely adopt AI in such a way that it doesn't erode public trust or further amplify existing cyber risks.
You've got a list of 5 things that you wrote about here about how data protection governance enables AI adoption instead of preventing it.
Yep.
Identifying sensitive data, monitoring AI tool usage, enforcing data protection policies, maintaining compliance, providing governance visibilities. How does one know that one is engaging in all of the right activities to see all 5 of those benefits that you described?
Well, there are certainly tools that can help organizations and government agencies safely adopt AI by putting those guardrails in place, by making sure that data protection strategies aren't just theoretical or on paper, that they're part of how AI is adopted, and these decisions are made in real time as the tools are adopted for making good use of AI.
The fact that these are real-time tools kind of anticipates my next question, which is, are we far enough along in the AI progression now that there are markers for people to tell we're on the right track instead of waiting till they get to some end state or some milestone and saying we're really kind of off the mark?
Yeah, it's never too late to start. I mean, whenever we sit down with organizations and review their current AI adoption, they're always surprised by how much shadow AI is in use. And how their data interacts with those models is also somewhat surprising in many respects, despite best efforts to secure and control the use of AI and how it relates to the data. So I think it is an area that is never too late to start, and building toward a phased approach that lands in a secure by design adoption of AI, where data is classified. You're consistently discovering what's there, analyzing the context, and making real-time governance decisions that these tools can provide to put in the control and the continuous monitoring.
We have about a minute left. You used the term shadow IT. Are you referring to, or shadow AI, are you referring to it in the same way we used to talk about shadow IT, where somebody would stick a server on the under the desk and the CIO would find out about it later?
Most certainly. Yeah, we see AI usage that wasn't necessarily sanctioned left and right. And most inadvertent data leakage through AI is just that. It's inadvertent. It's accidental. It's sensitive information being entered into a prompt, or a model being trained on sensitive information that it should never be able to put out as an output. These are areas that can be governed, and these are big governance wins that can be put into place with data loss prevention, for example.
Garrett, it's great to have you here. Thanks for being on the program today.
My pleasure.
You can read more about AI on today's show page at fedgovtoday.com. Up next, a new generation of AI at the Pentagon. Fed Gov Today with Francis Rose. We'll be right back.
A lot of healthcare fraud in the industry, and so we need to focus our resources in the places that are going to give us the biggest bang. So we're looking at outlier behavior, we're looking at the number of dollars and claims that have been submitted to us for payment, and we're looking for things that look abnormal. And so sometimes those abnormalities can be explained and they're legitimate, and sometimes they're not.
About the importance to the mission, how important this use case is for your mission, right? And how much time that is going to take to implement that use case. What's the feasibility of implementing that use case? What are the success criteria? And then it's very important to also consider the risk. And it's not only the risk in terms of security and safety, but also the risk of not implementing AI and falling behind.
Welcome back. A custom version of ChatGPT is coming to the Pentagon's GenAI.mil. OpenAI says the department approved it for unclassified work. Cameron Stanley's Chief Digital and Artificial Intelligence Officer at the Pentagon. Cameron, welcome. It's great to have you on the program. Where does GenAI.mil stand in the Pentagon right now regarding pretty much any aspect of its operation?
Thanks, Francis. I think it's important to note that GenAI.mil is more than just a concept. It's actually an operational capability that went live earlier this year, and we actually have had overwhelming success in the initial rollout. In the first week that we rolled it out, we had over 550,000 unique users who were using the platform, using primarily frontier AI models. That was the entire vision of GenAI.mil. What we've been able to demonstrate up until this point was that people are using it for what you typically use these frontier models for outside of the Pentagon. But what we're seeing now over the last month and a half or so is really the adoption of GenAI much more into the operational use throughout the department. So more than just asking it questions about day-to-day life or things like that, but using things for creating lists and creating approaches that they weren't thinking of before. And by leveraging the department's data, the unclassified data, they've been able to actually demonstrate huge efficiencies throughout their office for a number of things, from generating memos to generating emails, and really accelerating their ability to do their jobs better.
How do you get a sense of all the different use cases that people are undertaking with it, and how do you keep track of all of the information that is coming in and that people might be experimenting with? Yeah,
well, we don't try and keep track of all of the detail to the level of individual users.
Yes.
That would take too much time. A million people are using the platform at this point. What we are looking at, though, are trends on what people are actually using it for, how it's being leveraged, and then trying to take some lessons learned away from that on what the primary objective that most people are using the platform for is. Because remember, this was just the rollout of the platform. We're looking at many different ways that we can optimize the GenAI.mil to satisfy the vast majority of what people need out there from a generative AI perspective. And there's a lot of things that we don't know exactly what our customer base's needs are, and that's okay. In fact, as we iterate and get better, we're going to try and optimize our platform to be the most effective tool that we can possibly use throughout the department.
What do you want to learn from the rollout, and how will you kind of eye up the trends to then determine how you want to evolve the platform?
Yeah, it's a good question. So what we want to learn is, one, what are the real challenges that people are using Gen AI for? And bottom line, most of the time, it's very simple tools. It's very simple things that it's difficult for people to do. Auto-summarizing massive documents is a huge problem throughout all of industry and the department. And what we've seen is people using generative AI to actually auto-summarize documents, create those summaries so that they can articulate what the changes are from version 1 to version 2, for example. But we're also looking at it for how it can accelerate decision-making processes throughout the department. It's not just in the how do we accumulate all this knowledge, how do we turn that knowledge into action? And so when we're looking at different use cases and how people are using the tools, it's more than just the tools themselves and how they're using it. It's more what's the next step, and that's where we really are excited to see where people are taking the platform.
So that's kind of the next step is what's fascinating to me too, because you referenced the fact that a lot of people are using it to do simple tasks. At what point do you expect to either see or encourage the use of GenAI.mil to do more complex tasks or to try tougher things?
We're actually seeing that now. So initially, first couple weeks, they were auto-summarizing documents, like I said, creating memos, creating emails. Now what we're seeing is now people are asking it second and third order questions. And so what we're seeing, we don't see as many new users over time. We're now seeing the users that are on the platform now using it a lot more. And the density of their queries are going up. And that's really encouraging for two reasons. One, it shows that they're getting comfortable and familiar with the platform itself. They're also trying to find the limits and the boundaries of how they can use the system itself, which is really fascinating. As an AI professional, data and AI professional, it's always encouraging when the users show you what your tools can do versus you telling your users what their tools can do. And for us, that's the biggest sign of success is now that people are asking us for additional capability, additional functionality, and we're looking to build that in throughout the roadmap of GenAI.mil.
How are you kind of merging and integrating the idea of we want people to explore the boundaries, we want people to test the limits, but kind of keeping them within the governance and security guardrails that you need to keep them in an organization like the Pentagon?
Yeah, a lot of that's already built into the technical implementation. So by having it in a secure unclassified environment, it allows us to really not confine them so much in what it is they're trying to accomplish, and it only gives the models access to that CUI level data that we wanted to have access to. That said, there's a lot of things in the model that we are finding encouragingly that actually are a lot more effective than we thought they were going to be. And so as our users are actually using the system more, we are learning more about what the systems can be. But those guardrails are already built in. That's part of the reason why we designed the system the way that we did. The other reason that we built it the way that we did was because we wanted to see just how far the users would take it, and they're showing us that it's got a long way to go in a good way.
Are those effectiveness surprises things that you can talk about?
I mean, outside of the general usage, what we are seeing is, like I said, the complexity of the tasks are growing up, and by having those follow-up queries, it's clear that most of the folks that we are working with do have a different perspective on what it is they're asking the models to do, but they're also learning what those models are doing. So I don't have any specific examples per se, but I do think what we are seeing is encouraging from just how they're using the system.
I want to shift gears for a moment. The CDAO for a long time lived in a different part of the Pentagon, and now it is part of the Office of the Undersecretary for Research and Engineering. What's the significance in your mind of that move, and what does that enable maybe that your office was not able to do or not able to do as well or as much of or something else before?
Yeah, and there's been a lot of talk about the move underneath R&E, and I can't think of a reason why it's discouraging, to tell you the truth. From my perspective, if you look at the innovation strategy that the department has rolled out through Secretary Hegseth, it's clear that what they wanted to do was try and co-locate all of the innovative organizations into one organization underneath a chief technology officer, and that's the Undersecretary, Emil Michael. That allows us to do multiple things. One, it allows us really the freedom to use our authorities to really demonstrate advanced research and engineering, advanced technology development, prototyping type aspects, which we could do before, but it wasn't our main effort. Now it is. The second thing that allows us to do is work horizontally across all of these different organizations within the innovation ecosystem. So if I have an issue with prototyping or something like that, I could go to DIU. If there's a issue that the Economic Defense Unit has that has a huge data problem, they can call me. There are many different aspects of this where we now have access to our peers in a way that we just simply didn't do it before. And then the strategy also allows us to really focus our attentions and our activities against those really critical challenges. Whereas before, as a principal staff assistant, what we were focusing on is more strategic level issues across the department. We still have some of those, but the real focus is in that tactical improvement, the tactical enablement, especially for warfighters.
We have about a minute left. Have you seen gains already in having that kind of flat innovation infrastructure?
Absolutely. So if we're talking about conversations that I'm having at my level with my counterparts at say the SCO or DARPA, or even working across CDAOs in the department, it's clear now that we have that functional expertise and those authorities in one place, so that we can actually affect a whole lot more outcomes than we could before by just finding like with like and then trying to collaborate and cooperate in ways that we weren't doing it before.
Yeah. Quick final thought. Do you see any other moves coming like that in the innovation infrastructure in the building?
I think the innovation infrastructure is just getting started. You're going to see a lot more collaboration across the board, but we're also looking at opportunities where we can really focus all of our attentions together against some of these big, ridiculously difficult problems that maybe I don't have all the authorities to solve, but my friends do. And how do we work collaboratively together? Yeah, you're going to hear a lot more about that.
Cameron, it's great to have you here. Thanks for being on the program today.
Thank you, Francis.
You can read more about GenAI.mil and the other topics we talked about on today's show page at fedgovtoday.com. FedGov Today continues in just a moment.
This was framed exactly right. Like, these are extraordinary assets that the government expends significant resources to develop and maintain, and everyone within government, across industry, academia, and the private sector, even the American public, should really have the opportunity to reap the full value of that. And so we are in a place where we can do things with information that we've never been able to do before, both while we're using it as a government and also in the way that we can ultimately transfer that value to others over time.
Data extraction still yet to be done. So much analysis that yet needs to be done. And I think that is really where we're going. We're going to be able to see patterns and trends. We're going to be able to make some decisions that currently right now takes way too long to make and possibly might affect our national security in some instances, I dare say. But I really feel we'll be a stronger nation for it. And so this all comes down to real strong data foundations and very clear governance.
Welcome back in today's Event Spotlight. Monday, March 9th is a big cyber day in Washington. In the morning, the Reagan Building's the site of the GovRamp Symposium. Federal, state, and local cyber leaders from across the country will join a half-day discussion on innovation in security across government. The third annual Billington State and Local Cybersecurity Summit opens later that day. It's at the Reagan Building, too, and it runs through Wednesday, March 11th. You can read more about both events and register at fedgovtoday.com/events. FedGov Today TV returns next Sunday morning at 10:30. Alex Fitzsimmons, Director of the Caesar Office and Acting Undersecretary at the Energy Department, is here. I'm Francis Rose. I'll see you then. Thanks for watching and have a great week.